the Applebee's in Farmington. Just a great Tuesday night. Everyone's doing good in the neighborhood here. And we have a great show planned for you. We'll break down an awesome Friday night that we had of football this past Friday. Talk a little bit about the district standings, too, and spend some time talking with the Jefferson Blue Jays later on during the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable. Thanks to everyone listening online at mymoinfo.com if you are, or online or on your radios at 98.5 FM, and if you're streaming on Twitter as well. Griffin Weinberg, your host for the evening. Across from me in the blue shirt, Garrett Davenport. Next to him in the green shirt, Chad Speaker, and then the newest member of our regional radio sports team joining us for the first time on the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable. But he's been here before. Now he's rejoining us once again. Hal Meisler, great to have you down with us, Hal.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, too.
We're really excited to have you down here. You used to work with regional radio back in the 80s.
Yeah, back in the 80s. I came down here in August of 1983. And Mark Toady joined the station in November. So
you dated yourself there, didn't you?
I've known Mark Toady a long time. Yeah.
If you've been here for longer than Toady, then you know everything there is to know about this place. So we're really glad that you're here with us. We're excited for it, and we're happy to talk about the game that you were at last Friday between North County and Festus. We'll break that down a little bit later on in the show. Want to open it up with some brief district talk before we get into our game recaps from last Friday. Just starting with Class 1, District 1. St. Vincent, they remain the top seed with their 5-1 record. A few of our teams in Class 1 District 2, Crystal City, they dropped from the top seed down to the second seed in the district. St. Pius in fourth place, and that is a really tough district. Duchesne, they're the number one seed. They have a record of 3-3, but they have the most points according to the Misha things, their way that they seed all the teams. So St. Pius is at the number 4 spot, Grandview down there at number 5. The Jefferson Blue Jays, we're speaking with them later on in the show. Class 2 District 1, they are the 4th seed in that district. Over in Class 3 District 1, we have a little more clarity that comes along with that district as Valley Catholic. They beat Central last Friday, so Valley Catholic, they retain the top spot, 6 points ahead of Central Park Hills in the district. St. Genevieve is in third place. And then Potosi and Fredericktown, they are in seeds 5 and 6. I beg your pardon, 6 and 7. Class 3 District 2, Herculaneum, they are currently in the third spot with their 4-2 record. And then Class 4 District 1, a lot of our area teams, Hillsboro leading the way. The only undefeated team in Class 4 District 1 is the top spot. They're right ahead of North County. They are above, the Raiders are above Farmington. Farmington is above Festus. Festus above Perryville. And DeSoto is all the way down there in Class 4 District 1. Windsor, they're 5th in Class 4 District 2. Class 5 District 1, the Fox Warriors, they are currently in the 5th spot. And then in Class 6 District 1, in Seckman, they're in second place, but 0.17 points behind CBC, the defending Class 6 champions. So they're really right there close to the top. And then Northwest is down in the 7th spot of Class 6 District 1. Guys, I wanted to get into the game recaps really quickly, but as far as the district standings go, was there anything that you saw, anything that you wanted to point out or maybe have caught your eye?
You know, maybe something that you didn't talk about, Griff, because you covered the teams from our area, but I think this has an impact on them, was the fact that New Madrid County Central hammered Kennett. And Kennett was, right there with the 3 teams from our area kind of toward the top of that thing with Valley, Central, and St. John. But Kennett getting beat by New Madrid County Central in a convincing manner, that puts them down in that 4 spot. So, St. John and Central kind of jockeying for that number 2. Of course, Central already beat St. John, but, you take look at the top of that thing.
It's not easy.
Top 4,
it's not easy.
A masher.
The score of that Kennett game, that was like 60-40 or 60-21 or something like that, too.
Yeah. New Madrid County, shame on the pollsters, by the way, because New Madrid County Central didn't even get ranked this week. They got votes, but I thought they should have been ranked this week. They're a Class 2 team, and Kennett was ranked, I think,
they were in the top 10,
in Class 3, and New Madrid took them out. Unless there's something, whether Kennett had guys suspended. I don't know if there's anything outside of the field play that happened there, but aside from that happening, boy, get New Madrid County Central up in the rankings.
Yeah, I
here,
want to
guys.
give them a little bit of love. Maybe
Yeah.
we got someone listening from that area. Garrett?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the district standings other than Duchesne being number one in Class 1 District 2. We can talk about that a little bit later. We don't agree with that one at all with a 3-3 record.
Yeah,
But
I'm with you.
I think, for the rest of the listening area districts, I think those top 1 and 2 might be set until we get to district time. But the middle of the pack for all these districts still up for grabs, the 3, 4, and 5 seeds. Really, if you look at Class 3 District 1, you mentioned Kennett and St. Genevieve. They're going to be battling for whoever gets that 3 and 4 seed. And then again, Class 4 District 1, you got Farmington and Festus right there. That game is going to be
it's going to come down to that
big.
game.
It's going to be very, very big. And
who doesn't want to play Hillsborough is what that game is all about.
Exactly.
much.
So really,
6-0.
those top of those districts have really kind of been decided, but still a lot to play for the rest of the season for some of these teams that are jostling for 3 and 4.
Yeah, numbers, semantics. There's a lot that still needs to happen. There's 3 games to go in the regular season, so we'll definitely keep an eye on all that. But we had 3 great games on regional radio last Friday. There's a lot to talk about those matchups, so we'll step aside for a quick 3-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll break down the J98 game. The best that the state had to offer last Friday. You're listening to the Coles Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on 98.5 FM. Welcome back into the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable from the Applebee's in Farmington, where they got some new specials I was looking at. Spooky Sips for $6. I don't know if that's just a Tuesday special, but I think that's a new one.
I bet it's a October special.
Yeah,
you think?
Yeah, potentially. I'm very interested to see what that's about.
The Tipsy Zombie?
Yeah,
maybe.
Tipsy Zombie. Cinnabon swirls, too.
We were eyeballing that a little bit earlier. I don't know. I always get an appetizer here.
Yeah.
I might have to get the mini swirls.
You may have to do that. Any of the specials catching your eye, Hal? Got some good burgers.
Go for a new burger.
Yeah. They got the good burgers, and we got some good football to talk about. Last Friday's J98 game of the week, boy, it lived up to all of the hype that we were given at Valley Catholic and the Central Rebels. They duked it out for 4 quarters, but Valley ended up winning 40-30 at Father John Dempsey Field. Valley, they took the opening kickoff, drive 65 yards down the field, and they opened the scoring. Chase Fallett runs it in from 3 yards away with 9:36 to go in the first quarter. So Central, they get the ball. They're driving down the field. 4 minutes. And Cason Murphy, he fumbled the ball away. But on the very next drive, Fallard threw an interception that went right to Joe Bryant about 3 minutes later. So now we go to the second quarter. It's 7-0 Valley. They have the ball in their own territory with 6:28 left in the half. And then Central forces and recovers a fumble at the 18-yard line. And for the Rebels, took just over 30 seconds to even the score. As Michaels, and it's 7-6 Valley Catholic with 5:54 to go in the first half. Don't know if you heard it, but have any of you guys seen Blades of Glory before? Great movie. Glad I got to throw a Chaz Michaels reference into the game. So tremendous movie, but a tremendous run there by Cason Murphy. So we're tied 7-7. Then Central, they get the second half kickoff, and they take it 80 yards to go on top. 1 for 5 on third downs are the Rebels. 2 receivers on either side. Murphy takes the snap, 1 step back, fires to the end zone, back corner. It is caught. Is he in bounds? Cannon Harlow. It is a touchdown. A dime from Murphy. He finds Harlow, his 5th receiving touchdown of the season, and the Rebels lead the Valley Catholic Warriors 13-7. 8:43 to go in the third quarter. So I told you the final score was 40-30, but the first half, 7-7. There really wasn't a lot of offense. Things just kind of changed right after that halftime break. After that touchdown, Valley, they get called for offsides on the PAT attempt. So Corey Schweiss, we know that he's a gambler. He sends the offense out, and then Joe Bryan runs in the 2-point conversion. 15-7 Central. Valley gets the ball. They take it to the Central 18-yard line. Then on a critical 4th down, Judd Nagar decided to go for it, and it paid off as Chase found his cousin Grant for an 18-yard touchdown. And then they went for 2, and they converted it. So now we're all tied at 15. Central ends up getting the ball back, and the result, well, it was the quickest drive of the night. Murphy's going to hand this off up the middle to Cannon Harlow. He breaks free on the far side of the field, up the sideline. It's a foot race to the end zone. Harlow to the 20, Harlow to the 10. Diving is Fallard. He won't get him. Harlow, a running touchdown. The Rebels take it right back with 1 play. His 2nd rushing touchdown of the season, and the Rebels, with that big playability, lead Valley 21-15 with 6:31 to go in the third. PAT is good, 22-15 Central. And the defenses, they go back and forth the next couple of drives. Valley ends up with the ball at the Central 40-yard line after forcing a turnover on downs. A couple big runs set up a Chase Fallard 4-yard rushing touchdown, but the Rebels block the PAT, so Central leads by 1. Then on Central's next drive, it started in the third quarter, and it ended with a touchdown with 9 minutes to go in the game. They're going to stay in that super I formation. Bryant is the back at the very back end. Jones and Harlow blocking for him. Bryant up the middle. Is it enough? It's a touchdown Central with 9:09 to go in the ball game, and it's a 7-point lead. Now the decision comes for Corey Schweiss. Do you try to kick the PAT and make it an 8-point game, or do you go for 2 and make it a 2-score game? Offense is out. That super I formation. Jones behind Murphy. Harlow behind Jones. Bryant is the tailback in the far back. They hand it off. No, they fake it to Bryant. Looking to throw to Jones in the back of the end zone. Comes up front. He's got it. It's a 9-point lead for the Rebels. So we remember all the way back in week 1 when Valley trailed Seckman by 9 in the third quarter of that game. One of the best games that we've had on regional radio so far this year. They came back to win. So The Warriors down 9 in the fourth quarter. They get the ball back, and they march 57 yards down the field.
Read option. Fowler keeps it himself, running up along the right hashes. He broke off a tackle. Now he's running to the far side of the field, across the 10, diving to the end zone. He's hit by Bryant near the pylon. It's a touchdown, Valley. Chase Fowler, his third rushing touchdown of the game.
They went for 2, the Warriors did not make it. 30-27 Central. Valley forces a punt on defense, and it didn't go far, so the Warriors get their next drive at the 50-yard line. Valley's run game, it really came alive in the second half, and it powered them to take the lead back.
Giesler's got this one up the middle, nearly tackled. Now he drives into the end zone. It's a touchdown, Valley. They go back on top. 33-30 is the score. 4:25 to go in the ball game. The Warriors steal the lead back.
PAT makes it 34-30. Then Valley, they force another turnover on downs and took over from their own 43 with just under 2 minutes to go. That's from Bryce Giesler. He broke off a big run.
1:49 to go. 2nd and 10 for Valley Catholic from their own 43. Handoff up the middle to Giesler. He breaks through. It's the first down in a foot race to the end zone. Bryant is behind him. Giesler still running. He's in for a touchdown. Bryce Giesler, 57 yards. And Valley leads 40-30. 1:40 to go in the ball game.
Griff, do you recall how far Central had to go on that 4th down when they gave it back on the 43?
Oh, boy.
That's
I think it was less than 10 yards.
Because it's about 2 minutes to go there.
Yeah.
If you get a good punt, you're talking a minute 50 and trying to force Valley to go the length of the field. Now, Corey Schweiss, he's aggressive, right?
Yes.
And that's, I'm not faulting him, but you think about the different options that can come into play there.
And the thing that plays into it is because on the punt that ended up giving Valley the ball at the 50-yard line that eventually led to a Bryce Giesler touchdown, that punt from Kason Murphy, it only went about like 25 yards. It didn't go that far.
Yeah,
so
that played into it.
He kept it a little bit low, so they wanted to go for it. Special teams were weird in this game. Like there was the block PAT from Central, and then Valley brings in their kickoff specialist, Isaac Bosler, who hasn't kicked the PAT all year, to come in and kick the next PAT. He ended up making one, then he missed one too. So it was special teams was up in the air. So tough decisions to make. We know that the kind of gambler Corey Schweiss is. But eventually, Valley, they just took over 40-30 Central. They get it back with 140, but Sam Jury, he picked off Kason Murphy to end the game. And boy, it was a really incredible game. Again, in the first half, just 7-7, not a lot of yards from each side. Valley had 78 rushing yards in the first half. Central had 53, and then Central ends up with 238 rushing yards for the game. Valley, 338 rushing yards for the game. Giesler, he had 201 of those with a couple of touchdowns. Fowler, the Applebee's of Farmington player of the game, 134 yards and 3 touchdowns, including the passing touchdown. Head coach Judd Nagger, he said that the Warriors' defense was huge in the comeback.
We got some 4th down stops. We're just pleading for stops. Somebody make a play, and we got a couple 4th down stops. And made some outstanding effort plays. Chase certainly had that long run when we're down 9, and all of a sudden everybody's believing again. And next thing you know, you get a stop and a score, and then next thing you know, you get another stop on 4th down.
And the defense really did come up big for Valley. I mean, coming into that game, they were averaging 17 tackles for loss per game. In 5 games, averaging 17 tackles for loss. They only got 9. So, they're going to have to live with that number, I guess.
I was going to say I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I do want to get ahead of myself.
Please.
That's the whole point of this comment.
Hot takes, conversations, get people talking.
But, area football fans are probably already, looking for the rematch, right?
Yep.
I mean, now St. John and Kennett and Dexter and Potosi and Fredericktown, they're all going to have something to say about this. But Valley Catholic and Central are the top 2 seeds in this district. And they very well could meet again for a district championship game.
Yeah.
If they do, it'll be another classic probably.
And it would most likely be back at Father John Dempsey Field. I mean, you look at the result from the Kennett game, losing to the Class 2 New Madrid County by like almost 40 points or so. Valley's going to play Kennett in week 9 of the season, so we'll see how they kind of match up.
But even if they would lose, they could flip Central if they're 1-2 because they beat them head to head.
Exactly.
So it'd be really tough for.
And St. John is still 5-1. And listen, things have been kind of slow,
Right.
I think, for the Dragons the past couple of weeks, but it feels like they're starting to pick up steam. They have a come from behind win against Potosi this past Friday.
They've got their chance this week.
Yeah, they're going to be playing this week too. There's so much movement that I think can happen with all of the district standings and so forth. But yeah, what a heck of a rematch that would be. We'll have to worry about that in a little over a month from now, I guess. For now, Valley, they stay undefeated at 6-0. They got St. Genevieve this week in the J98 game of the week. If Valley wins that game, they'll clinch the MAFC White Division title. First season in the new conference. Central, they dropped their first game of the season, 5-1 Rebels. They will have Fredericktown on Friday. It really was the J98 game of the week, lived up to all the billing. But boy, the AM 800 KREI Farmington Knights game, that one was a thriller. We get to talk about that next. We'll step aside for another few minutes and come back and talk down the Farmington homecoming game on the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on 98.5 FM. Welcome back into the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable, live from the Applebee's in Farmington, where everything smells great and everyone's doing good in the neighborhood, and maybe I got a Mucho Bahama Mama waiting for me on the other side of this show.
You know, in the interest of full disclosure, there's a round table, like literally 4 feet away from us, but yet our show is on a rectangle table. So.
I know. Doesn't work out that well. We need to invest in a different table, I guess, something that we can bring with us. Great stuff that we had from the J98 game of the week, but over on AM 800 KREI, we had a fantastic matchup with the Farmington Knights. Eric Krupe and Farmington, they've made a living on winning close games in the last few years, but this one, the Knights fell to Cape Central 35-32 in their homecoming game at Hale Memorial Stadium. Farmington, they routinely reset the line of scrimmage in the first half. The line paved the way to 194 first-half rushing yards. Then Case McLean, well, he gained 167 of them, and he gave the Knights the first lead.
And now you got drive back down under center. They give us to McLean. McLean busts a tackle. He's through to the open field, and nobody is going to catch him. A 49-yard black bullet down the left hash mark, and Farmington scores first. McLean broke one arm tackle at the line of scrimmage, and nobody after that was within 20 yards of him. Farmington 6, Cape Central nothing. 10:30 remaining in the first quarter.
Farmington's defensive line read a screen pass perfectly as 260-pound Aiden Saunders picked it off, and he rumbled into the red zone. Then Brett Dry let loose with a rare toss to the end zone, and Braden Berry, he laid out for a diving catch.
Tight sets, and back to passes Dry. Looks down the middle of the field. A little separation for Braden Berry. Dives in the end zone, and hauls it in. A 28-yard touchdown pass on a diving attempt for the catch by Airbnb. His 5th touchdown catch of the season, and the Knights are on top. 12-zip at the 4:40 mark of the first quarter.
Farmington really just, dominating action at this point in the game. The defense, sniffs out the screen game, which Eric Krupe said was probably one of the most dangerous elements of what Cape does. And they're resetting the line of scrimmage. Holes are blasting open for Casey McLean. And when he's not running through wide open lanes, he's breaking tackles. Then it turns around.
Yeah, I know. Airbnb too. I love that. That's a good one. Make that a staple.
That was a combination of Garrett and I.
B&B, and then I just put Air.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so we got Airbnb.
And he did the nickname justice with the diving catch like that.
Oh,
Airbnb
sure
going through the air.
He did. All right, so Farmington, they had given up only 13 yards of total offense when Cape shifted gears. They started splitting out their dangerous running back, Zaire Thomas, as a wide receiver.
Diamond the quarterback, fakes it, keeps it, throws it to the right side. That's to Thomas, and Thomas is off to the races. He's to the 50. He's to the 40. They won't catch this little man. To the 20, 10, touchdown. 62-yard pass play to Zaire Thomas. And after dominating this first half of play, Farmington, hurting itself with penalties, gives the ball up on downs and watches Cape go 62 yards on one play. And now we've got a one-score game.
And so I remember talking on our Fleets Equipment pregame show about Zaire Thomas, small guy, but a really fast guy. And something that we've talked about in this roundtable with Farmington is how fast guys are in pads. How did Zaire Thomas look in pads?
He ran circles around. And the thing about guys that small, too, is it's not their top-end speed necessarily. It's the fact that they get there so fast. They get from 0 to 60 in just a blink of an eye, plus, the lateral speed. And Farmington was really because they use him as their main running back, right? And Farmington was really shutting that down. But then they started sending him out as a flanker and, running some of the quick pops out there. And they just get him in a little bit of space. And he's like 5'4", 5'5", and he's just a sophomore, but can really make things happen.
Yeah, sounds electric. Jackson McDowell, he capped a 61-yard drive with a 1-yard run to give Farmington a 2-score cushion once again. But Thomas, he ran one in with less than a half a minute left to close the gap to 5 at the half. It's 19-14 Farmington. Cape starts the second half with the ball, but Farmington forced a 3-and-out. The Knights look to take control of the game with a 37-yard touchdown run by quarterback Brett Dry. So now Farmington leads 26-14. Then that's when the game flipped. Zaire Thomas got the Tigers back on the board with his second touchdown run. Farmington then fumbled on its first play after that, and Cape found the end zone again for its first lead.
First and 20 for Cape after the hold. 3 men to the left, 1 man off to the right side, and Boyd the single setback. You've got Thomas out in a route right here, and a bullet over to the middle, and that's an easy touchdown. A pitch and catch to McClard right there. So the holding call doesn't slow down Cape at all. In fact, they score it on a 27-yard pass play, and Morgan Diamond is on pace for a career night right now.
Tigers then, they stuffed the run in the second half, giving up only 70 yards, but sophomore signal caller Dry, he took the team down the field and into the end zone through the air to recapture the lead. Some amazing concentration by Braden Berry, but the Knights are back on top.
Turn Dry loose to throw the ball. McDowell goes in motion, and Dry is back in the pocket, and he throws this ball over the middle on a post route. It is tapped in the air, and then caught on the ricochet.
Whoa.
Touchdown, Farmington! Touchdown, Knights! Braden Berry catches the tip ball and takes it in from 32 yards out, and Farmington punches its way on top. 32-27, 6:26 remaining in the fourth. Berry had about a step and a half on his man, but Dry underthrew him just a little bit. One of those balls that you could tell he kind of tried to aim rather than let it rip, and the Cape corner was in good shape. He jumps in the air, but instead of hauling in, he tips it, and Berry just keeps running. Great concentration by him, and then is able to take it the rest of the way in.
2 highlight reel catches by Braden Berry in this game so far that we've heard of. Cape Central quarterback Morgan Diamond, he saved his best for last. He's a senior, a 3-year starter, and he threw for 289 yards and 3 touchdowns.
32-27 Knights lead by only 5. A touchdown would put Cape Central out front. This time it's Thomas in front of Boyd. 2 wide receivers to the left side. Diamond, the quarterback, looks for the pass in the end zone, completes it, touchdown, and Cape Central leads. Marshawn Edwards dives in the end zone and catches the touchdown from 4 yards out. The third touchdown pass of the night for Morgan Diamond, and Cape leads 33-32 with 1:06 remaining in the fourth.
Farmington, they had the final possession of the game, but time ran out. The Knights dropped their homecoming matchup 35-32 to Cape Central.
I was just going to say, how killer can turnovers be? I mean, when you look at what happened to Sykeston, of course, Farmington won that game. Farmington had control, but 2 fumbles lead to Sykeston getting back. Of course, the second half, Farmington was able to do work. But in this game, that fumble really is the difference between Farmington and, in my personal opinion, Farmington being 3-3 and 4-2. That was a really big fumble that let Cape Central really come back in this game.
A fumble, sandwiched with the 2 touchdowns right there. Farmington also had 7 false start penalties, which is just it's so uncharacteristic. And it, I mean, I don't even know how that happened. Very uncharacteristic. Eric Kirby said, I don't know what happened. We'll look at the film.
Emotional game,
we'll
homecoming, maybe,
maybe. Yeah. But it was the type of game, too. We said time ran out, and it really did. But even with this option attack, Brett Dry was doing a good job taking Farmington down the field. He had him down to the 30, and then Farmington, well, there was a little bit of controversy. They thought they had a timeout left. The officials said no. Time runs out. It's one of those games that if it's a minute and a half longer, I think Farmington scores and wins it. But if it's 2 minutes longer than that, I think Cape probably comes down and scores too. So
just one of those games, whoever has the ball last, and maybe they get
so
the
those
chance.
Penalties, the 7
false starts.
You don't know if it was off of the snap or maybe a shift that went awry.
There was 2 double shifts, and the rest of them were a guy jumping. And an offense like Festus, maybe that Jackson, heck, maybe that doesn't matter, but first downs are so important for Farmington in that triple option. So, when they get behind the sticks, then all of a sudden you're kind of, so to speak, playing left-handed, and that really hampers their ability to push it down the field.
Yeah, it's a tough one for Farmington. Instead of going to 4-2, the Knights go to 3-3. Barry caught 4 balls for 112 yards. McLean 176 on the ground on 23 carries. Farmington has Poplar Bluff this week. We have one more game to recap from Friday night, an exciting one on AM 1400 KJF, and we'll do so after a 60-second break. You're listening to the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on 98.5 FM. back into the Coles Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on 98.5 FM. Griffin Weinberg, Garrett Davenport, Chad Speaker, and Hal Neisler breaking down one more game on AM 1400 KJEF. Great Class 4 District 1 matchup as North County scored 23 unanswered second-half points to beat Festus 30-20 on AM 1400 KJEF. The Raiders, they got the opening kickoff, but they turned it over on downs. Festus did not.
2 running backs in the backfield, and Jeremiah Cunningham standing at his own 35 in the shotgun. Dropping back, looking left, throwing it deep down the hash mark. That is Armand Branch with the catch. It's at the 25 to the 15, 10, 5. Does he get in? Touchdown. Jeremiah Cunningham with the deep ball to Armand Branch. Looking at a 3rd down and long, and they take it long all the way to the end zone as Festus breaks out on top.
Well, Hal, you've been gone for a while, but since you've been gone, there's been a lot of tremendous athletes that have come through the area, and Armand Branch is one of those kids.
He is one of them for sure. This kid, he could reel it in with one arm, one hand. I mean, he is an exceptional receiver of going to get the ball and then the yards after the catch. I mean, that's huge. I mean, he can outrun anybody, out-juke anybody. He's an exciting player. He really is.
Did you know that this is only his 2nd year playing football?
Yeah, I don't know the story behind that, but I've seen him play basketball, but I did not know the story behind him just getting into football. And maybe that was something the coach said, hey, how about you come out for the team? Or, you know. You see the big kid in the hallway. It's like, what are you doing after school from now till Christmas or something, you know? But he's a fine athlete.
He very much is. And North County's got some athletes of their own. It didn't take long for North County to tie the game.
Job Smith not in the backfield. It's Moore and Huff back there. Moore dropping back to pass. Going to throw it into the corner.
He got
Touchdown Raiders. My goodness, what a circus catch by Cooper Kekek. His 3rd touchdown of the year. He went way up to get it, brought it down, and North County an extra point away from tying it.
So at this point, the game's tied 7-7. Not even 5 minutes into the game, Festus, they kept their foot on the pedal. His quarterback, Essian Smith, ran in a 10-yard touchdown on the next drive, and the Tigers' other quarterback followed suit not long after.
Cunningham in the gun again. High snap, going to run it himself off with plenty of room to the right side off the sweep. Blake's run tackle to the 30, to the 25, down the sideline. He is in. Touchdown, Jeremiah Cunningham. I don't know how he got through that blockade on the far sideline, but somehow he's able to stay in bounds, get through, and picks up another touchdown for the Tigers.
That play, by the way, was on the far side of the field away from us, and he was in a cluster football players over there, and then to see him come out of that mob, so to say, with the ball, that was something.
Yeah, he's something else. And not long after, North County quarterback Jack Moore, he found Andrew Civey for a touchdown before the half. Raiders went for 2 to make it a 2015 Festus lead at the break. And just as the Festus defense did on the opening drive of the game, North County forces a turnover on downs with 3 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. The Raiders drive 67 yards down the field. 3rd quarter ends on the first play of the final quarter.
Moore goes under center, takes a snap, handoff up the middle. Job Smith, little cut, little juke. He's in. Touchdown. Job Smith, as we said at halftime, you got to dance with the one that brought you. They put it in Job Smith's hands, and they put North County back on top.
And how, we talk about Armand Branch, Job Smith.
He's tough.
On the other side, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a tremendous runner of the football. Has a chance to score every single time he gets it. Well, he did score one more time.
He has quite the stiff arm, too. I mean, we saw that so many times in that game, and it's just like, boom, like the Heisman Trophy. Just perfect.
Yeah.
And he's got great size, and you can only imagine how strong he is. And, the stiff arm pays off for him.
He's a special talent. Well, he extended the lead to 30-20 with another rushing score, 3.5 to go in the game, and then the Raider defense forces and recovers a fumble with little time left to seal the victory. Brian Jones said the intermission proved to be productive for his team.
We made a couple adjustments at halftime, and it's stuff that we kind of put in on the fly. So I'm really proud of our kids for understanding what we was asking of them. We had about 20 minutes to install it. I think that really helped us and kind of made it more difficult for them to run their offense the second half. Offensively, we talked, and there was some stuff that we felt like they was giving us the first half, but maybe we didn't take quite enough advantage of it, or maybe we wasn't getting it blocked up right. So we talked about that at halftime as well, and we come out and we executed much better.
I think this was just sorry, Hal, but I was just saying I think this is a real big statement win for North County. I mean, a huge one. They face adversity once again. I believe this is the third time they found themselves down at halftime and were able to come back and win it again. Their kids are buying in, especially great coaching adjustments from Brian Jones. And you talked about Joe Smith. I got to talk to Jones during the summer. Said that kid, Joe Smith, he lived in the weight room. I don't know how much weight he put on, but it was a good amount. And so, I mean, they got a special team over there. I think they're going to want Hillsboro again in the districts, and they're going to be a tough team to beat too.
I was just going to say, North County coaches saw something, okay? And they were able to go in the locker room at halftime and map it out, explain it, and go back out in the second half and just carry out a new game plan, so to say. And I think that's remarkable that they could pick up on that. They can convey it to young kids, okay, and get them to fall in line with the plan and get it done. It's good coaching.
Did they ride Job more in the second half, or?
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
just about the same. Yeah, about the same. And we haven't said the part of this was on the road for North County. Okay, so they find themselves down. They're on the road. They're not at home. So that was another good thing for North County, making a statement that they can win, come from behind on the road.
Did the same thing as St. Clair. They were down 21-0, almost 28-0. St. Clair comes back, takes the lead, and then North County drives late and wins that one on the road.
And another impressive thing for me is just kind of Jack Moore as well, the quarterback for North County. This is a team last year that didn't really throw the ball much. Of course, Job was really the catalyst for that. I mean, he touched the ball, he was gone. Nolan Reed as well. He ran the football a lot. But Jack, going through the air, he's able to find his receivers, 2 passing touchdowns in this one. I really like the way that he's shown growth throughout this entire year.
162 passing yards for Jack Moore, 164 on the ground for Job Smith. North County goes to 5-1. They have a homecoming game against Windsor this week, while Festus falls to 2-4. They have Pacific. We'll step aside for another 60 seconds, quickly break down some of the other matchups in the area that happened last Friday night and one Saturday game. You're listening to the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on 98.5 FM. Rolling through on the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable. J98 with you. Thanks for streaming online at mymoinfo.com if you're watching on Twitter, YouTube page 2, Griffin Weinberg, Garrett Davenport, peace, blue shirt, Chad Speaker in the green shirt there, Hal Meisler sitting to my left. Broke down all the action on regional radio last Friday. Let's talk about the other games as St. Genevieve. They found themselves down a couple of times to Potosi, but they come back to win 26-12. Jay Pope, Dragons head coach, says each week has been a different type of game.
This week it was definitely that, grind it out on the ground type of game. We finished with almost 250 rushing yards. Our two running backs had two really good nights again. Aiden Butcher went for almost 150 yards, and Jack Farlow was right at 100. And, those two with the ball in the hand, we really controlled the clock and controlled the game.
And then Blake Coleman for Potosi. He had a couple of passing touchdowns too, but St. Gen, they improved to 5-1. Potosi drops to 2-4. Hillsboro, they keep the wagon rolling. They beat Windsor 67-13. Bill Saharsky said everyone contributed in the win.
I mean, we came out, we played really well defensively. We had a lot of short fields in the first quarter. I think it was 36 or 39-0 at the end of the first. Our kids they played really well, ran the ball well, threw the ball well. I think we had a kick return for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown. I know we picked the ball off, but turned it down around inside the 5. And so really just a good team effort.
I look at the Hillsboro numbers like every week after their game. It's hard to not stare at them for too long.
How many points they've put on the board this year?
Yeah, it's incredible. And then they get 67 in this game. They're running the heck out of the ball too. And this one, 31 carries, 270 yards, 5 touchdowns as a team.
They've only given up as many as 21 in a game, and that was against Festus.
Yeah.
Festus scored 21, and that's the worst the defense has done for the Hawks.
Yeah, that's not too bad with what they're able to do on the ground. Preston Brown throwing the ball really well when he is 5 of 5 with a touchdown. Hillsboro stays undefeated at 6-0. Windsor is 3-3. Herculaneum, they shut out Grandview 46-0 as Black Cats coach Blaine Boss compares this week's win to last week's game.
Last week we had multiple holding penalties and a couple high lows, just silly stuff we usually don't do. And our linemen did a much better job communicating this week with each other, keeping their hands inside. And when you don't get penalties, it makes it a lot easier.
Mikey Maloney, will shout him out. 12 carries, 157 yards. Lucas Barr over 100 receiving. And then Jackson Deering, 8 of 10 with a couple of touchdowns. Herky is 4-2. Grandview drops their 4 straight. They drop to 2-4. Fredericktown, heck of a homecoming game for those Black Cats. They're down 14-0 at half. They come back and win 21-14. As Fredericktown coach Jake Whitener said that after being down at the half, the Black Cats, they rallied in half number 2.
The defense was the highlight. We wind up scoring 21 points. Obviously, for us, scoring's been a bit of an issue this year. So, the team rallied at halftime. You, as a head coach, you don't know what to say to them at halftime when it's a homecoming game and all the festivities and everything kind of take the glitz and the glamour of the game. But defense played lights out in the second half.
Fredericktown goes to 2-4. DeSoto drops to 1-5. St. Pius on top of Cuba, 58-6. Dan Oliver said that it was a great offensive game.
We ran the ball really well tonight. I mean, we scored probably second play. Nolan Sipple took a sweep down the sideline and scored second play of the game. And from then on, it was just, we kind of just ran the ball. Our offensive line did a great job.
And the defense was great, too. 3 interceptions, just 20 rushes allowed, 20 rushing yards allowed on 26 carries. St. Pius wins their 5th straight to move to 5-1. Seckman, they beat Parkway South 50-6. Nick Baer, he was pleased with the win.
No doubt. Another solid performance on all sides of the football. Defense, once again, first-team defense comes out, pitches out a shutout. We almost held on to it there at the end, but they were able to put a late score in.
Another ho-hum game for Cole Rubel, over 200 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Shout out to the senior committed to SEMO this week. Always good to see.
We did, okay.
Yeah, always good to see.
You say ho-hum, and I know you're right. He averages 199.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a basic game for him. Nothing really crazy there.
Average night.
Yeah.
He's like the leading scorer in the area.
In the whole, St. Louis greater area. For everyone who puts
top.
their stats into the database, he's up there.
I just think it's
else.
crazy. 204 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, oh, yeah, that's what you kind of to expect from him.
That's what you expect out of the kid, and it's pretty crazy. Anthony Westervelt, 6 catches, 96 yards, a couple scores. Seckman moves to 5-1. Northwest still looking for their first win. They dropped to 0-6 after a loss to Oakville. Crystal City, they lost 36-38. Don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter, but someone was putting out videos of the final play of the game. I don't know who the Crystal City quarterback was, but he got a pass off to a kid right on the goal line. Looked like maybe he got the ball into the end zone. It's hard to tell from the angle, but the officials did not give them the touchdown. If they did call it a touchdown, Crystal City would have won. Apparently, there was some controversy in that game, so wanted to bring that up. Didn't know if you guys saw that.
I thought every scoring play was reviewable.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. They should be able to look at the huddle tape and go back and look at it all.
That's only on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. Boy, if we had that in high school football, games would never end, I think. So Crystal City, they lose their first game of the year. They drop to 5-1. Fox, they lose their fifth straight game. 28-7 against Poplar Bluff. And then a Saturday game, St. Vincent, they beat Bayless 48-6. It was their homecoming game for the Indians. They improved to 5-1, and I'm excited to talk about their game later on. We'll have that on KJF this Friday. St. Vincent is 10th in Class 1. And the last game we have not discussed, but I want to discuss it with the coach and the players coming up as Jefferson beat Perryville 20-7. We will step aside for a quick break and welcome on Matt Atlee and some of his players from the Jefferson Blue Jays. That's all coming up in a couple of minutes on the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on 98.5 FM. Welcome back into the Kohl's Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable, live from the Applebee's in Farmington on 98.5 FM, online at mymoinfo.com, and we're streaming on Twitter too. Very happy to be joined by the Jefferson Blue Jays head coach Matt Atlee coming down here, bringing a couple of his players, I should say. If you're watching on Twitter, you guys, you could say, hey, if you want. You all look great. On my left, we got Sean Ussery sitting here in the middle, Nate Breeze, and then on the far side of the booth, Connor Armstrong. Seriously, thanks for coming down, guys. I know that it was a little bit of a slow start to the season when you're at 1-3, but you guys come back and now you're on a 2-game winning streak. Coach, I'll just start with you. To know that you have these back-to-back wins, does it feel like things are kind of smoothing out a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's never ideal to start 1-3, but I think we're starting to find our rhythm a little bit, and things are starting to come together. So as long as we just keep putting things together in practice and focusing on those little things, the big things will fall into place for us.
And I know offensively, it's 62 points that you guys have scored over the past couple of games. So I know Sean and Nate are doing a little bit of stuff offensively. You're on the offensive line, Connor, right?
Yeah.
How has the offense sort of been meshing over these past 2 games, Coach?
I mean, done well. 42 points against Bayless. It's obviously nothing to shake a stick at. I know Sean had a really big game, 293 or 291 on, 20-something carries, so he did pretty well. Nate had a couple big touchdowns in the past couple of weeks as well, receiving wise. So the offensive line really, and we've kind of challenged them over the past couple of weeks to step up. And I know Connor being a leader in that group has really helped. But they really have played a big role as we took on a team in Perryville that was very physical and a lot bigger than we were. And really they set the tone. They set it early and they set it often. So it was really good to see.
Yeah, they're a Class 4 school. You guys are a Class 2 school. They got a big roster there. So they go up 7-0 at the start of that second quarter. Sean, let me ask you, with the guys on the team, when you guys are down 7-0 in that second quarter, do you get worried a little bit, or are you guys, pretty calm? You're like, you know what, it'll eventually come along for us.
I think it's more us getting fired up about it because we obviously don't want that to happen, and everyone just kind of comes together in that moment and they realize we got to do something now or nothing's going to be done at all.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys come back, you get a touchdown, and the first touchdown scored by you, Nate Breeze, on the receiving end of things. Can you tell me about the touchdown, the play that led to it, and the ball that Cole threw you?
Well, to start off, Cole delivered a beautiful ball. It was high, right in my pocket. I couldn't have asked for a better ball. O-line, they did a great job, held up. Had plenty of time. We got the ball off. Cole put it where it needed to be, and then made a play.
And the offensive line blocking really well. The next touchdown that gets scored by Sean right here. But Connor, tell me about the camaraderie that you guys on that offensive line have had. I know that maybe has there been a little bit of movement with the guys starting on the offensive line this year, and just sort of the way that you guys are working together.
Yeah, definitely. We've had to change our centers up to go out of gun and do different things differently and whatnot. But the good thing about maybe not our starters, but if we have guys that need to come in and try things out, we're all such a tight-knit group that we can really just all put trust in each other.
Yeah.
And, we don't have that worry like, oh, so-and-so's in. Well, now we've got to worry about this. None of us really have that worry, and we all can trust the guy next to us this year. That's what I really appreciate about the line.
Yeah. So you're a senior, right?
Yes, sir.
And then, Sean, you're a senior?
Yes, sir.
Nate, you're a junior?
Yes, sir.
So you guys were all here when Jefferson went to the Class 2 state semifinals a couple of years ago. And then last year it's a 7-4 group that you have. Sean, how important was that experience of kind of going far in the playoffs a couple of years ago and having a really good year last year too? What kind of, did it shape you into a leader? Did it give you a lot more confidence as a player and to kind of maybe help some of the younger kids on this team along?
Well, especially on the Final Four team, it just really showed how things need to be done. It showed what's right from wrong. It showed what's better than other things. And it really just made it easier to play at a high level.
Yeah.
Playing against those teams in the playoffs like Duchesne, New Madrid, very, very athletic teams. And it just taught us how we have to play them.
Yeah. So you guys beat Perryville 20-7. You improved to 3-3. Coach, the defense has been impressing me a lot this year, just from looking at the numbers. I know I haven't watched you guys with my own eyes, but the last year, 15 points per game that you guys give up. This year, between 11 to 12 points per game that you guys are giving up. Why is the defense not giving up so many points? The most general question ever.
Yeah, it is, but that's all right. Honestly, I think these kids just bought into what we do. And, it's not very different from what we did when, Coach Rugley was the head coach. I learned a lot from him and how to do things defensively. But, this is a little bit of a different group than what we had last year. So, they have different strengths as far as on the back end and coverages and as far as what we have up front. So, just really the buy-in they have and obviously playing with effort and the intensity they play with is crucial. We actually had this talk on Monday. Like, we give up yards. It's not that we don't give up yards. It's that we step up when we need to step up. Thinking back to the St. Pius game, one of the first times I remember being at Jefferson for 7 years, we had a huge goal line stand going in, right before halftime, which is just a huge testament to how hard these kids are willing to work to kind of step up and make those stops up front on the D line and in our linebacking core as well. So I think it's kind of a little bit of everything on that standpoint.
Yeah, I know on the defensive side of the ball, I know you've talked about Connor, the numbers, they're not glaring off the page or anything like that. But Connor, what is your role on that defensive side of the ball, and how do you sort of disrupt the opposing offense, I guess.
Well, what they yell at me for every day is jam and squeeze. So I'd say that I definitely get they definitely stress that the most. So that's really what the biggest thing is, squeezing down those gaps and being able to clear up our backers and not get so much trash in their face. It's kind of our defensive line coach Casey, put it really the best. We're a very unselfish D line. We play more for our backers and the betterment of our defense than we really do for ourselves.
Yeah. Nate, do you play defense too?
Safety. Yep.
You play safety. So when you know that the defense is not giving up the amount of points, when you guys are playing at the way that you are, offensively, what kind of confidence does that give you guys on that side of the ball?
I think it actually translates really well. The huge defensive stand we had against Pius and all that, it just really gets you motivated. Like, especially whenever it carries into O, it feels so much better. I think against Perryville, we had a few big stops, and they're a pretty big offense, like Coach said, and it really led into offense, and we started working them.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of some of those games, this I-55 conference is tough. Like, it's not easy, especially with Herculaneum, the way that they've been playing this year. St. Pius and obviously St. Vincent taking a big step up too, and having 7 teams in the conference, so it almost feels like every game during the regular season matters. How, Coach, do you approach these final 2 games where you do have 2 conference matchups against Grandview this week, and you'll have St. Vincent in week 9?
Yeah. And honestly, it's great for our conference. Our conference is getting better, which is obviously good for the area. And it's good for us to see that competition, see that physicality. We started out, Fredericktown, a much improved team than they were last year. It was a very physical game. Then we go and we play Cuba, who is a physical team. We got a win there. And then we got to play against Herculaneum, which, was just a slugfest, and the same thing with St. Pius. So, it's always good to have that in the conference. And, Grandview is not going to be much different. I know they lost some from last year, but they're a physical, in your face, run it right down your throat type football team. So, we're going to have a test with them as well. And then also St. Vincent, I know they took it to the Class 1 state runner-ups week 1 this year. So, they're a good program, and they're ranked in the state for a good reason.
Yeah.
So, we tell the kids this is really, and they can contest to this, we got to focus on us winning every play. And if we can win every play by the end of the game, no matter when it is, we're going to be just fine.
And I didn't even mention St. Genevieve, too. Like, you talk about you guys are playing up in a class, you play Perryville, and St. Genevieve I don't know if Jefferson's played them in the past.
No, I don't think we've ever played them.
Okay.
And they're playing good football this year as well, so it's going to be a good test for us.
Yeah.
And good going into districts because we need it. We're in a tough district as well, so it's good for that.
Yeah, when you guys see St. Genevieve on the schedule or really any, bigger class school, are you guys excited for a matchup? Is that something that you're penciling in, Sean?
Absolutely. Being able to play those bigger schools that have more to pick from and more athletes, it just makes us better.
Yeah. I did want to ask about your numbers because I was looking at those, and you kind of talked about it from the past couple of games. So over the last 2 wins, 42 carries, 403 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then on defense, you get 20 tackles, at least on that side of the ball, if the numbers add up that way. Are you just kind of seeing the holes good, or are things just really clicking for you at the running back position?
Well, you can say that I'm seeing the holes, but the holes don't get there without my O-line. We depend a lot on our O-line and our run game, and we just have to put trust in them. They've been working their tails off, and they improve week by week, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, that's the good answer, too. I'm sure that Connor really appreciates that one. How about catching the ball, too? Nate, I was looking at some of this. So last year, you get 9 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. You're already pretty much over those marks. 8 catches, 144 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And, again, I'm a numbers guy. In 4 of the 6 games that you got a reception, you get a touchdown in 3 of those games, too. What has that sort of been working like? I know Cole's been throwing the ball. Carson was throwing the ball a little bit earlier this year, too. Did you guys spend a lot of time throwing over the course of the summer?
Yeah, a lot of us, like in practice and stuff, we would practice that kind of stuff. We do some Pascali and, working on that kind of stuff. And like Sean said, though, the O-line held up. Their pass pro has been getting a lot better. Cole's been improving tremendously, when it comes to just from week 1 all the way till now. Cole has improved dramatically. He's starting to realize, get me down my speed, my strengths, what I'm not good at. I'm not a fast receiver. I'm not gonna lie, but Cole's starting to figure that out. The higher you get it, I'm a taller kid, and there's not a bunch of huge corners we're gonna play that can get above me. So Yeah.
Does what he needs to. Did he go 3 for 3 passing, I think, last game?
3 for 3 for 37 yards and a touchdown.
So how does the running game complement the passing game in this offense?
Well, I mean, with only being 3 for 3, I think you got to say the pass game complement the run game.
Yeah.
But, it's we like to do some play action out of it. We do some rollouts as well, but we don't get too complex with it. We don't have to because we don't throw it a whole bunch. When we do throw it, we try to be methodical and we take our chances where we like them. And, one of the things he's benefiting from is his size. That's Nate is benefiting from his size because he is 6'2". We can give him a ball in the end zone, let him go up and make a play. And he does a great job playing the ball in the air. And really, our quarterbacks, Carson and Cole, both when they're in, have done a great job putting the ball up there and give them a chance to go make a play.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's nothing too complex. We're pretty simple with it. We don't want to have the kids think too much. And like they said, our pass pro struggled a little bit early on, but they're really kind of taking the reins from that now. And, I don't know if Cole has had any pressure in his face in the past 2 weeks, so we can keep it that way.
Yeah. Connor, you like run blocking or pass blocking more?
I like run blocking a bit more. I just get to take a step and really, give it to somebody. But pass blocking is definitely fun, especially when I see Cole give a perfect pass, and they're always beautiful to watch. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, things are really clicking for you guys, and it's not an easy final 3 games that you have. But, with the way that you're playing right now, it feels like, things are really starting to come into form for this Jefferson football team. I really appreciate you guys coming down. The last question I have for you, I want to know what you got to eat. And I want to know how good it was. Sean, what'd you get for dinner?
I got a bourbon street steak. It was absolutely amazing.
All the football players, they always get steak when they come down here. I mean,
yeah.
you can't pass it up. What about you, Nate?
I got some wings with some buffalo, and it was perfect.
Was it the Cheetos wings?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what it was called. I just know it was bone-in wings, and they hit the spot.
I got to try those. Connor?
I had to go with the four cheese mac and cheese.
Yep. Yeah.
Chicken tenders.
With the chicken tenders.
Delicious.
That's the go-to. Whenever I don't know what to get, I'm like, you know what? I'll just go with the mac and cheese and tenders. You like your meal, Coach?
That's right. Yeah. I got the classic combo.
Yeah.
They were out of cheese sticks, so they threw in a whole pile of cheese curds.
There you go.
So you can't really be mad about that.
No, you can't go wrong with that. So,
Yeah.
guys, really appreciate you coming down. Seriously, it's been fun following you, and we don't have you on the air this week, but we will be with you guys for the last 2 games of the season, broadcasting on AM 1400 KJF, so we're excited for that. Head coach Matt Atley, Sean Ussery, Nate Breeze, Connor Armstrong. Fellas, thanks for coming down.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Jefferson Blue Jays joining us on the Coles Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable. We're back in a few minutes on 98.5 FM. Coles Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable from the Applebee's in Farmington. Griffin Weinberg, Garrett Davenport, Chad Speaker, and Hal Neisler here on the Roundtable. And thanks to Matt Atley and some of his players from the Jefferson Blue Jays coming down and talking to Sean Ussery, Nate Breeze, Connor Armstrong. They were just a delight to talk to. Good kids, a really good coach, and a team that's on a 2-game winning streak. They're at 3-3. Strong defense. Offense is shaping up. They got a game against Grandview this Friday, and really appreciate them being able to make the drive down from Jefferson County to speak with us here. So we will break down or talk about the games that we have this upcoming week in regional radio, but I really wanted to talk about Mizzou this week. We stayed away from it last week, but boy, man, they gave Georgia a run for their money. I mean, a big, big run. Harrison Mevis, remember when he missed the game-winning field goal against Auburn? Was 5 of 5 in this game, makes field goals from 56, 52, 49. This really felt like Mizzou had their backs against the wall, and I thought they were going to lose by 40. They lost 22, I beg your pardon, 26-22 after Georgia scores 14 unanswered in the fourth quarter. You could just tell from Eli Drinkwitz, he was very, shocked and distraught after the game. Here is Mizzou head coach Eli Drinkwitz.
We got a lot of heart. We got a lot of fight. We got a lot of belief in the coaching staff and a belief in each other. And we didn't let last week's disappointment affect our preparation and our ability to push forward. We're not going to let this disappointment do that either. That's what we're going to take out of it.
His message was press on, press on, press on. It was like Belichick saying we're on to Cincinnati. Drinkwitz just kept saying press on, press on. But, man, that shocked me. I wrote Mizzou off last Sunday. I didn't think that they would have a chance. But that felt like kind of sort of a season-saving loss to me in a way. Because now they're showing a little bit of fight there, but we'll see what happens. Mizzou, they got Florida this Saturday, 9 a.m. pregame on AM 1400 KJEF and AM 800 KREI. Mizzou is currently 2-3. Enough of the college football talk. We're back to high school football. We got another great set of games coming up this week. A Thursday night matchup. Northwest still looking for their first win at 0-6. They're going to be at Parkway Central. We'll keep an eye on that game and let you know what happens with it. Then Friday night, really loaded slate. Central's going to be taking on Fredericktown in the MAFC White Division. Potosi's hosting St. Charles West. I know they played once last year. I think Potosi won that game by a touchdown. So the Trojans at 2-4 hosting 5-1 St. Charles West. Hillsboro, they're at the Sodo. Windsor is going to be taking on North County, the Raiders' homecoming game. I think they got something cool planned pregame for that. I was seeing something about how they were going to deliver the ball in, which should be somewhat interesting for North County. Festus, they're taking on Pacific. Festus 2-4, Pacific 0-6. Jefferson, they will be at Grandview, 3-3 Blue Jays at the 2-4 Eagles. Bayless 1-5, they are at Herculaneum. Black Hats are 4-2. New Madrid County Central, we probably gave them the most talk that the Roundtable has ever given New Madrid County Central tonight. They are 5-1, taking on Perryville. The Pirates are 2-4. That game is in Perryville. Fox hosting Hazelwood West, the 1-5 Warriors on a 5-game losing streak, but Hazelwood West, they're 0-6. Maybe things can change for Brent Tinker and his squad up there. That game is at Fox. Seckman will go to Pattonville, 5-1 Jaguars against 4-2 Pattonville. And then Crystal City coming off their first loss of the season at 5-1 record. They are hosting Von Farr. They have a record of 1-5. Gentlemen, was there any games, anything that really caught your eye in particular about this upcoming Friday? You're nodding your head a little bit there, Chad?
I like the St. Charles West Potosi matchup a lot. St. Charles West, a losing record last year, and you were right. Potosi beat them by a score, 28-21, scored late in that one. But St. Charles West comes in 5-1 this year. And not only that, they're garnering votes in the state polls. So they're a team that's nearly ranked.
Class 3?
Class 3. So I think it's a big one for Potosi. If they could kind of capture maybe what they were able to do last year and win this one, I think it'd be a nice win for Potosi once again this year.
And I don't know much about St. Charles West offense or their numbers. Heck, I don't know anything about them. I'm trying to be nice. But for Potosi, it feels like, they're coming off a deflating loss to St. Genevieve. And it almost feels like, they're always a team where they could be, like 4-2 or 2-4 the way it goes. It feels like they kind of have their backs against the wall, sort of in a Mizzou, Georgia way. But again, those two teams are really far apart. This feels like a good spot for Potosi.
Maybe deflating, but competitive.
Yeah.
Against St. John.
Just a tough one to lose.
Yeah, because they were in it, right, and had the lead in that one too. But played a good team tough. Just seems like Potosi almost always does. But St. Charles West will spread it out. And so, it's going to be, an offense they'll be familiar with, certainly.
Yeah.
I think that could be a good game, and I think if Potosi wins that one, be a nice win for them.
I know some younger kids on Potosi. They've been stepping up over the last week or two. Garrett, was there anything that you were looking at?
Well, really, it's the only matchup that I see on here where you got two teams with an over 500 record. That's Seckman at Pattonville. That's not on our regional radio airways. We'll get to those in just a second. But Seckman at Pattonville, I don't know much about Pattonville, but, we know a lot about Seckman. That offense can do a lot. That defense is shut down. So, excited to see what they can do against a team that's, 4-2. I got an over 500 record. I'm excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, I know I'm looking a little bit at that Fox game. It's a home game for Fox, the 5-game losing streak. They're going up against 0-6 Hazelwood West. I know that this is a team that had higher hopes than being where the record is at right now. And I know that, Garrett, when you talked with Coach Tinker on the End Zone show last Friday, there was a lot of young kids he was talking about that were making some big steps up. And Cam Underwood, he's been playing quarterback as a sophomore for that team for a lot of this season, so maybe there's a bright spot showing out there. Hal, was there any game that you were maybe looking at that you wanted to speak on?
Well, this Festus at Pacific game, look at the record for Pacific, 0-6. Festus should have a better record if they could ever cut down on the number of mistakes. Penalties is mostly, and then second would be turnovers, but it's mostly penalties that cost them the end of a good drive or something. But I don't know.
Could be an interesting
I don't know
one.
much about Pacific, but of course I'm interested in. I've seen Festus like 3 times this year, so I'm just kind of interested in how that game comes out.
I think Festus breaks through here, and for something that AJ Afadale, beg your pardon, said on his post game with you guys is sometimes you just need a win, right? I mean, and right, the mistakes certainly, but sometimes if you do enough things right but you don't win, it can be deflating. And so if you can get that win, that in and of itself can kind of help you move on and gain a little momentum. So
yeah, well, so there's a lot of games that we will not be broadcasting. However, the 3 games that we have for you should be very, very exciting on regional radio. Let's start with the AM 1400 KJF game. Hal, you're going to be at this one. I'm excited for this. Very, very excited. St. Vincent 5-1, St. Pius 5-1, I-55 conference matchup. They're both 3-0 in the I-55 right now, so this won't determine the winner of the conference, but this will definitely put whoever wins this game in a good position to win the conference. This is going to be a dogfight, as it always is with these two teams.
I haven't seen St. Pius this year, but just looking at those records, it's going to be a pretty good game. We will be there. It's going to be an emotional-filled game because prior to the start of the game, they're going to retire Tommy Surdyk's jersey. So it's going to be emotional. And coming up on Thursday on our sports talk show, Tim Surdyk is going to join me in the studio along with Tilden Watson, the athletic director there at St. Pius. So you can look forward to some stories on that. But, yeah, it's going to be a big night at St. Pius.
And just to elaborate on that, Tommy Surdyk was in U.S. Military Academy, correct?
He was at West
Point. Was on a vacation day to the ocean. Somebody was drowning. He tried to save them and died doing it. Died a hero, so that will be very emotional.
Wow. So Thursday, you said that you're having them in studio?
Correct.
All right. Well, make sure you listen to that. Sports Talk on AM 1400 KJF.
4:30 in the afternoon.
4:30 in the afternoon on KJF and MyMoInfo.com. Looking forward to that conversation. On AM 800 KREI, the Farmington Knights, they are heading down to Poplar Bluff. SEMO North matchup. Farmington 3-3. Poplar Bluff 2-4. Garrett, you're going to be going down south for this game. This was one of the all-time games that we had last year on regional radio. I know we had it in our top 10 broadcast. You hear the call throughout the year. as we play it before the round table and before some of the other football festivities we have. This is a big turnaround point, I think, for Farmington.
This is a really big game. And, you talk about that game last year. Well, both of these teams are really different than what they were last year. Poplar Bluff at 2-4. They've had some really competitive games. I think this is going to be another competitive game in the series between Farmington and Poplar Bluff. Farmington's won, I believe it is 4 straight against the Mules, and it could be 5 in this one. Just Farmington, really, for me, they just got to cut out the mental mistakes, the mental turnovers that they've been giving up the last couple of weeks. 2 of them, they were able to get wins, but Cape Central really came back to bite them. So, again, I don't know much about the Mules this year, but Farmington, I feel like this one can be the one that get them over 500. They just got to make sure they're playing their brand of football and win this one.
I think coming off of a tough loss to Cape Central too. I mean, Chad, you'd have to think that Coach Krupe, he's going to have these guys ready to go against a very, a tough divisional matchup.
Yeah, that SEMO North kind of unforgiving. Jackson, of course, sets the top of it. They have for several years now, but the rest you can kind of throw the rest of them, in a barrel together. You've got Cape Central defeating Farmington late. Farmington, of course, took care of Sykeston. Sykeston maybe just a cut below, but Poplar Bluff's right in there. They played Cape Central to a 1-score game earlier this year, and so I just look for it to be another kind of one of those typical dogfights in the SEMO North. But Garrett's right. Farmington has won 4 in a row in the series. Probably shouldn't have won last year, but came up with a way to do it. They were down 2 scores with just a couple of minutes left, and just found a way. It was an absolute thrill last year at the end of that one.
Yeah. What's the atmosphere like in Poplar Bluff? I've never been there.
I haven't been there either, so it's going to be my first time.
It's not Jackson, but it's not bad too, because how they've got new facilities, and they're spectacular. Their facilities, I want to say, are 4 years old. New high school, new field, boxes are nice. The home fans seating is exceptional.
Yeah.
But they also have nice away seats. So really nice venue, pretty good support, and, always competitive.
Does the electricity work there as opposed to TDW?
I hope.
Yeah, it does.
I would hope so.
We hope so. So it sounds like it's
So
going
you
to
don't
be a
have
good
to
setup.
pedal anything.
I don't
Get the
have
hamster
to,
wheel.
Yeah, don't have to run on the hamster wheel. We should just have a power outlet ready to go. Both sides of the field should be illuminated. So we'll
They're
be
great
all right.
hosts too down at Poplar Bluff. Really nice people.
We always appreciate that. So Garrett and Coach Terry Noble will have the call on AM 800 KREI Friday night. The J98 game of the week, the Old Settlement Showdown. St. Genevieve is at Father John Dempsey Field this time around. 5-1 Dragons versus the 6-0 Valley Catholic Warriors. Just always a fun game. These two teams, they're going to play hard. Last year in the regular season, it was a dominating win for Valley Catholic. But then in the Class 3 district playoffs, St. Gen, they came out in that game, and they brought the energy in it. They kept it close in the third quarter, but with Valley, you always got to be able to play that fourth. Warriors ended up pulling away for a win in the district playoffs, but this is a St. Genevieve team where, I think things have sort of been against them a little bit over the past few weeks. You play Central. Central's one of the best teams in the state. You lose 45-3. Then they face a little adversity against Potosi last week. They're down a couple of times. They come back, and they get the victory, 26-12. I think Aiden Boyer, he's been running the ball a lot over the course of this season, running it a little bit more than he has in the past. But he started to throw the ball a little bit last week, and he's, starting to get in, sort of fall into his own. I know that him being a 3-year starting quarterback, too, going into Father John Dempsey Field, that's not going to phase him. It's something that he's used to. And all the kids on both sides of the field, they're playing against their friends. It's a loving environment. It's a great environment. It really is, but once the game starts, we're going to do everything we possibly can to win this game. So I always love going back for this game. It's fantastic, and I hope that you folks can join in on the J98 game of the week. That's going to wrap up things from the Coles Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable. Thanks again to Matt Atley and the Jefferson Blue Jays and some of his players for coming down and speaking with us. And thank you for listening online at mymoinfo.com on your radio dial, or if you're following along on Twitter and YouTube, we appreciate it. For Michael Capias, engineering things back in our regional radio studios, Garrett Davenport, Chad Speaker, glad to have Hal Meisler joining us for the very first time, too.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Good to work with you all.
Exactly. You couldn't tell that we just met right before this show. Everything was working perfectly, so we're looking forward to the rest of the season, Hal. Thanks. I'm Griffin Weinberg, signing off from the Coles Tractor and Equipment Football Roundtable on 98.5 FM.